Well, we have some breaking news from Lord Darkseid. Let's take a look.
April 28th, 29th, and 30th. Save the date.
Well, how about that? I wonder what that means. Now, this is something Zack Snyder posted on Vero as well as Twitter, stirring up all kinds of stuff. And of course, Zack Snyder is infamous, notorious, or famous, or beloved, depending on how you want it to, for teasing. I would remind people that his teases bore fruition because the Snyder Cut was indeed released, not without a lot of difficulty and all that sort of thing, but nevertheless, that happened. And until recently, thought there might be some sort of a return to his Snyderverse in some form or fashion, but all that came to an end when James Gunn announced that Henry Cavill would not, in fact, be Superman after Warner Brothers, and yes, Warner Brothers, announced his return to the role in Black Adam. And then, less than a month later, James Gunn gets hired as the new boss and says, we're going to abandon all that and start over. More or less, some things would stay, most notably his own projects and all that. But anyway, so then people would say, well, you've allowed for your Elseworlds deal, which would involve, so far now, would involve the Joker sequel and the sequel to the Batman. And so they would stay in their own versions of themselves and not interact with the rest of James Gunn's DCU. So why not have the DCEU continue on as an Elseworlds project? Well, DCEU is much bigger and would involve an awful lot to do it justice. And then that would be even beyond another Justice League film, which, of course, for the purposes of Zack's narrative, would require at least 2 films. And really, you need some other films, a Man of Steel 2, and certainly a Batman versus Deathstroke story, which was teased at the end of Justice League and all that sort of stuff. What's the likelihood that that could happen? Well, I would have thought not much. Because even if you say Superman Legacy, James Gunn's Superman film, came out and bombed, then oh boy, we got to rethink things. But part of the problem they had with Henry Cavill, at least we're led to believe this, was his age, and also him having to wait much longer than he probably anticipated for a Superman film to get off the ground. So then it would be even much longer than that if you have to wait till after, Legacy didn't work, and so let's go back to Snyderverse now, and that kind of thing. And can you get the whole band back and all that? I don't. It's just, and then to just say, yeah, you know what, we're going to do it. We're going to do both, and to have that kind of confusion for the mass audience. For your average DC Comics fan, it's perfectly fine. You're used to this sort of thing. But that's not the overall movie audience. And you would have you would invent yet another competing franchise within one another. And at some point it'd be cool to cross them over and do your multiverse stuff to a certain extent. But by the time you get there, I think people are going to be sick to death of hearing about multiverse, The only good multiverse film so far was Spider-Man, and I guess the Michelle Yeoh movie, which I haven't seen, but everything else, though, it's just like, bleh, I think they're going to be sick of the concept by then. Yeah, maybe not, but, But anyway, what's the likelihood? What could this announcement be? And he's using Darkseid. And at first, I would have thought, is this some sort of Rebel Moon thing? But why would Darkseid do that? Unless Rebel Moon was a disguise all along, and it really takes place on Apokolips, and well, wouldn't that be something, That's kind of but no. Perhaps there was some discussion about how they'll handle this. So what form would it take? What's the likelihood? At best, I'm guessing an animated feature of his Justice League narrative. Would he get the other stories, the Batman story and that sort of thing? Probably not, but maybe they could weave that in. Would it be at Netflix? That was the idea, sell it to Netflix because he has that relationship. Perhaps, but I'm thinking there would have to be maybe someone stepped up for the financing here. Netflix is not in that great of a place, but it's doing better than some others. There is the licensing of the Batman the Caped Crusader cartoon to Amazon. Perhaps there could be a deal there. I mean, Zach is under obligations for these films he's doing for Netflix. He did his zombie thing, and now his Rebel Moon movie, which could, go into sequels and whatnot. Perhaps already is. I haven't kept up with it in total. So, but would he be available to do a project for Amazon as well if Netflix can't pony up for this project? But anyway, it could be something on that level. I'm extremely dubious that it would be an announcement that there will be live action iterations of Zack Snyder's DCEU, and Henry Cavill comes back, suits up, and they continue that story and conclude it. It would be great, but man, is that to see all the conflicts and problems that would cause overall from where they're going with all of this. So I'm guessing perhaps an animated feature. At least maybe an announcement that, okay, DC Comics is going to do a series of graphic novels written by Zack Snyder and perhaps drawn by Jim Lee. And that's what you get. I don't know that would sit well. Everybody wants the live action, and I'm dubious that would happen. That would be an incredible thing, I mean, I'm like, I wonder how they do this. 1 year it's DCU, the next year it turns over to DCEU, and eventually they get to Crisis on it. Hey, knock yourselves out. But no, I don't think so. I'm guessing perhaps at best you might be getting an animated film and or films that continues his narrative. Perhaps some sort of deal was worked out, and we will hear, as Darkseid says, about it in April. So that's what it looks like. If this is just some tease for a Rebel Moon and he used Darkseid to say it, that's not going to sit well. So there you go. There's also the added thing that Air has been posting things, and maybe there's a deal for his Air cut to be released. That, in and of itself, I would not be dubious about that at all. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't release it. I don't think that this is so Zack Snyder said, hey, my buddy Air is getting his Air cut released. Darkseid says, hey, by the way. I think this is more of his own efforts in some form or fashion, whatever that could be. So stay tuned, I guess.